Hola and welcome to Gabbin' Games. It's good to see you. Today, one moment, we will be doing an audio-only version of Gabbin' Games. In fact, we'll be doing an audio-only version of Gabbin' Games all week long, along with one or two episodes, probably just one of I Love the Weird. The reason is because, as some of you may know, I am working on at least a very early pre-production on a video game. With movie games, it may or not get off the ground. That's how that shit goes. But right now we're all in and we're working on the concept and doing a little pre-production before we reach out and kind of lock down the team. So it's kind of when everything is just pulling at me from every direction, and it's very difficult to do the stream in the way that I like to right now, like the visuals and getting the lighting right and getting the background and doing the thumbnails. All those little things add up, and I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to be able to stream this week and do the game work, I'm going to have to kind of do some bare bones streaming this week, but I'll still be here because I miss it terribly from last week. So I hope you understand. I am really here live. I'll put a picture on where's the camera? I think I have a camera somewhere in here. Let's see if I can put my picture on the face. See, where am I? I don't even know if there's a webcam anymore hooked up. That's weird. Oh, there, you can kind of see me. It's in the dark here. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on. So, but we will talk about the news of the day. Welcome. I hope you had a nice weekend. Nick T says, Jaffe, you're thinking too much. Who cares? I care. The very value of thinking too much allows me to have some of the successes, not all, but some of the successes I've had in my creative life. You have to think too much. You have to put a lot of effort into things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. And let's jump immediately in because, look, I mean, our very own Brian 75K, haven't seen him around in a while, but he's one of the founders of Icon Era, and Icon Era are the ones who broke the news over the weekend about an exclusive PlayStation 5 game. And I say exclusive because I'll show you the video. In fact, I'll just loop it while we're talking. This video, I think I can loop this. I probably can't. This here video is apparently a game that is being made by external development, first party exclusive. So they're kind of like back when we were like doing Eat, Sleep, Play with Twisted Metal or Bartlett Jones with Drawn to Death. It's a second party basically. And they are doing a game that is currently codenamed, I think, Ooze. You guys must have seen this. But this is apparently very, very early. It's an old build. The game has come much farther along. Apparently it's an RPG shooter. And this is kind of all we've got of it right now. This, I don't think obviously was supposed to be leaked. But you know, here's what it does for me. It brings up a couple of thoughts for me. And if you're listening to the podcast and not watching, it's basically a sort of early PS4 looking soldier, almost Mass Effect-y, walking towards this tower, and there's this big globule kind of almost Venom from the comic books climbing up the tower, but he's like Godzilla size and the human is human size, right? So yeah, CR3D says, why is the actual hero asset worse than what's going on in the background? It's important to really know how to look at this stuff, right? This is super fucking early. This is proof of concept level early. This is probably at a point where the developer is still, you know, hoping every month they get greenlit for the next milestone and they get to stay in business. So they probably were like, look, you guys know we can do a human character. Don't worry about that. This was more about, can we make the ooze look really cool? And what does it look like when it's giant and blah, blah, blah. So to judge this as anything other than, hey, looks like Sony's making a RPG shooter with some really big, gigantic, weird oozy characters, I don't think you can really say too much more about where they're at. What I will say now, this was leaked. It was over on Icon Era. It's a guy who goes by the name. He's had a couple of reveals. Dusk Golem. It says the shooter's based in Europe. It's an old build. They have seen more footage beyond the leaked clip. This is reporting from PlayStation Lifestyle. It's currently fully voiced and has a soundtrack. So, I mean, you know, here's what, let me tell you something. Here's what I feel. Here's what I feel when I look at this. I mean, whatever. The game's, you know, who knows what this game's going to be. It could be brilliant, could be shit. Who knows? Who cares right now? It's too early to really have an opinion about it. But what this does is it brings back to me a great deal of anxiety of God, I'll tell you something. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about game development as it stands today and a little bit later in the show. But I just, man, I remember those days of dog and ponying stuff, whether we were Sony internal and we weren't necessarily worried about losing our jobs, but we were worried about, will they greenlight our passion? Or when we were external and, you know, those initial milestones, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, I hope they like this. And this brings me back to those days where you're just so hungry and desperate, and you want, you know, by this point, you've already fallen in love with your product. You know, the directors and creators who are making this, they probably look at this and they totally see the whole vision. And to them, this ooze thing climbing the wall is probably the coolest fucking thing they've ever seen, because they built it. They have the history behind it. They know what it's going to be. And then you trot in all of these executives who are used to these dog and ponies at various levels. They've just come from Naughty Dog and Insomniac and Santa Monica. And you're not going to compete with those titles, at least at this early in the process. And so you're just like, it becomes very hard to know if you've actually got anything, and you're just desperate for a nod of approval. At the time, for me, it was like Scott Rhodey or Shuei Yoshida. It's like, please like my child enough that means I don't have to fucking kill it. And so that is, man, I'll tell you, I don't miss that about development at all. Fucking at all. I you know, part of it's, I'm older now. When I was younger, I had enough fight in me, I think, that I was like, I'm going to fucking show those guys. I'm going to show them my vision, you know, and I was willing to just every fucking, you know, every fucking thing you're going to put on the line to make it come true. And you really have to have that kind of belief in the face of all the things that are looking to knock your shit, from politics to tech to other games that are similar, that look better and play better. At this early stage, it just, I don't miss it, fellas. I do not miss it one good goddamn bit. And that's what I think when I see this. But there you go. This is a new title. It kind of dovetails nicely into something Druckmann has been reported to have said. Stonerface says, well, you've mellowed as you've gotten older. I don't know if it's that I've mellowed. I don't think I've mellowed. Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's the mellowing. It's I wanted to be on top of that mountain so bad. Prince Green says, Jaffe, you were hungry then. You said it yourself. You wanted to be a rock star. Right. I wanted to be top of the food chain. I wanted to be getting the awards. I wanted to be well known in the game industry so bad that fuel was what allowed me to sort of push through this kind of, anxiety and self-doubt that comes at you 50 times a day. But once you've been to the top of the mountain, you've done it. So I think for me now, it's I couldn't do it again. I couldn't get in those trenches again. I wouldn't want to. But anyway, this dovetails into what Neil Druckmann was saying. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was just today. There was an interview he did where they said that Neil says that Naughty Dog's games are going to be revealing up and coming games much closer to release. They say in the past, when they revealed their games, they revealed them in retrospect too early, which ended up really harming their work-life balance. He says, listen to this. He's talking to a website called Comic Book. He says, Uncharted 4 was announced in November 2013. It was released in May 2016. So you had 3 years, a little less than 3 years to wait. Last of Us Part 2 was announced in December 2016, released in June 2020. So there you're looking at about a little less than 4 years. And there were also 2 delays on Last of Us Part 2. He says, now these days we want to delay the announcement a bit. We could play with the schedule more, and we're more conscious of how we approach production. So we have the multiplayer Last of Us, and there's another project that they're also working on, he says. And with these, he says that we're going to kind of hold our cards close to our chest, both, who knows? Because they don't want to say we're coming out in 2 years and suddenly they're locked to one of 2 choices: crunch like a motherfucker, or disappoint and piss off the fans. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this, which kind of ties to what Xbox came out today. At least the Xbox hasn't officially said this. Aaron Greenberg of Xbox fame has kind of hinted at it, but Windows Central has said that there is going to be a Xbox developer showcase on the 25th of January. Of course, we will be live streaming that. They're saying this one, though, is going to be similar to the Nintendo Direct shows and State of Play. So it's not going to be anybody standing on a stage. It's not going to be a 2-hour thing. It's probably going to be about 6 games, and it's probably going to be a video of about 23 minutes. You're going to see Redfall details in that. That's the Spotlight, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, and some stuff from ZeniMax Online Studios content, which I assume is just updates for what is that fucking game they run? The Fallout 76 and the Elder Scrolls Online, or whatever they call it. So, on one hand, it is a little weird that Starfield's not going to be there. They are still confirming, as of a couple of days ago, that Redfall and Starfield are coming out in the first half of 2023. They're not saying it's delayed or anything like that. But they're saying, or at least the rumor is that Microsoft wants to have a more dedicated and bigger showcase for Starfield. So, somebody in the chat is saying that Bethesda just announced something. Let me check that out right now. Bethesda, and I'll get to those chats in 1 second. One moment, fellas. Did Bethesda just drop some news? I don't know. So the exclusive that leaked to Cab was what we just showed a couple of minutes ago. There is no title. I guess they're calling it the Ooze or Ooze as a working title. But it was very, very little. Okay, let's see. I don't see anything from Bethesda. So if anybody knows what you're talking about, let me know. Cosmic Bandito says, is that XDev leak part of Barlog's space game? I doubt it. I mean, I don't know, honestly, but I'm under the impression he's working with an internal team. And from what the reporting is, that footage that we watched right here, this is footage from a European second-party developer. So I don't think that Corey would be directing a game externally, especially with the team all the way over in London. Jeeves says Peeps thinking apparently Starfield won't be at the Xbox showcase. My understanding is it according to what's being leaked today, is it won't, like I just said, but not because it's a problem, but because they're going to give it its own, deeper dive showcase pretty soon. Salvador, who's been a member for 12 months, he appreciates it. He says, Jaffe is doing audio only because he's living in an old Nissan. His ex-wife is the owner to finance his new game. He sold his house to Sony San Diego. Yeah, I assure you I would not be financing my own game. But I'm going to tell you something. It won't be long before we all are, and I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later in the show. There is some amazing, and not just the stuff we've talked about in the past with like ChatGPT. There are some amazing AI game creation tools that Microsoft themselves revealed one today. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But anyway, so you got Microsoft saying, look, we're going to be holding back our games until they're closer. We're only going to announce shit that's coming out this year. Neil Druckmann is saying, hey, it's a bad idea for us to talk about our games too far in advance. It doesn't help with the health of the creators. And it got me thinking. So I'll show you on the screen. When I was a kid, and this is these are pages from the Atari catalog, Atari 2600. Okay, so this is 1980s catalog, and I had to do a little research. I'll give you the results in a second, but it never felt when I was a kid, whether it was first party or third party, that I was ever wanting for video games. There was always something coming down the line, right? When you go to the Wikipedia, if you look at like what Atari first party put out in 82, it's like 16, 17 first party titles, right? You can do the same thing with Sony. We've done this on a previous stream, but it really is relevant and telling. 95, which was the launch of the PlayStation 1 in America, you had, I think I counted about 40 first party releases. This is obviously not the shit coming out, from Namco and whatever. This is all the stuff that came out specifically first party or co-publishing first party. 96, it jumps from 40 to about 58, right? And then what's really fascinating is as you go through the years, they have this big explosion, and as games get bigger, obviously, understandably, to no one's surprise, the amount of first-party releases get less. So now we're getting into 2010, 2007. So we have gone from 40 releases a year, and now if we look at modern times, we're dealing with, 2017 had about 14 at retail. 18 had 5, and then we get into 2020. There was a lot in 2020. There's about 9. 2021 was 3. 2022 was 4. And some of these are PC games, like PC versions, right? So here's PS5. 2020 there was 4, and then 2021 there was a lot more, but that's because they had the director's cut of Death Stranding. They had Returnal on PC, things like that. So it really is, it's kind of amazing to me that where first party games have come to and where we are with AAA and whatnot, you're just not getting as much content. You're getting a lot of content in other places. You're getting content in AA's, you're getting content in indies. And I wonder about this. I wonder if people who are loving PS5s and who love the Xbox and they're not really into indie games and shit, I wonder if they will just kind of go, yeah, that's my experience with gaming these days. I don't play PC. I get a couple of big games a year and a couple little small things and I move on with my life. Or are they starting to explore PlayStation Plus? Are they starting to explore the Game Pass stuff that's AA and indies? Does it make sense? If you guys remember, Sony used to do a lot with indies, like their own creations, like That Game Company, and they kicked off What Remains of Edith Finch. All of that was Sony, and then they just kind of stopped doing it. But I do wonder if their customers at Sony and Xbox level are going to start, like Xbox is not as bad because every month you're getting brand new shit if you're okay with indies and AA's. But I don't know. And I guess I do have PS Plus and that library is pretty big. And so I guess there's always going to be stuff to play, but it doesn't feel like it used to if you're only kind of looking at the AAA space and the first party space. Jeeves says, I'm exploring. I wouldn't have played Entwined. Everyone's Gone to the Rapture if it wasn't for PS Plus Extra. Right. Captain Ply says, I only play a few games a year. I mean, that may just start to become standard. Yes, there are third-party titles. But again, the number of third-party titles is still anemic on console at AAA level. Because what do you got? You get 1 or 2 from Ubisoft. You get if you get rid of the sports games, you get 1 or 2 from EA a year. Maybe if you're lucky, you get 1 from Rockstar. You get about 2 or 3 from 2K. Maskista says, it's what Colin Moriarty says. Sony might be quiet because most of their games this gen will probably be live service. I mean, perhaps, but that's still no reason to be quiet. I mean, I can only experience it imagining what it might look like from someone who doesn't game on PC, because on PC and when I play indie on Xbox and AA and on PS Plus sometimes, I have more than enough to play. But if I was just like, no, I'm a PlayStation guy and that's all I play, or I'm an Xbox guy, that's all I play, I wonder if they're starting to feel like they're kind of starving for content, both consoles, actually. Ryan Bacon says, Jaffe, I disagree. I think there are a lot of AAA titles yearly. There are. Well, maybe the answer is this. Maybe no one is feeling starved because there are AAA and from first and third party, and the AAA games these days are so massive that and for all intents and purposes, they're service-based games. Like if you look at something like Valhalla, or if you look at something like Cyberpunk, I mean, there's new content coming for those games. Maybe it's like, yeah, but the difference between the Sony PS1 era was you could finish those games in a weekend and take them back to Blockbuster. Now, if you really like a game, you're playing it for a couple of years. So maybe it's just different, but the amount of content people are being exposed to and being able to enjoy is still the same. Fupy says 2022 was not a dry year for PS5. Well, it was a dry year in comparison to what it was like in 1994. But sure, I mean, it wasn't a dry year regarding. I'm kind of looking at what they did in 94, or sorry, what they did in 2022, right? So in 2022, you had Ragnarok, GT7, Forbidden West, MLB, and I don't really count Last of Us Part 1 or Uncharted Legacy. These are kind of remasters, remakes. But yeah, I mean, 4 is not too shabby in this day and age. But if you go back up to where we were, I'm just randomly going up here. If you go back up to where we were in 2007, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You had 14 in 2007. So I'm just saying it's interesting, but I think it's ultimately not going to matter, because I'll tell you why in just a minute. I got to show you some stuff I'm amazed at. But first, Fupy says you had other stuff on PlayStation like Sifu, Stray, Ghostwire. That's really interesting. Ghostwire wasn't first party, but it was exclusive. All those were exclusives, but not first party. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Again, I haven't felt amiss, but you are basically looking at Ghostwire, Stray, and Sifu. Those are not AAA games. Those are AA games. And it sounds like I would love to see the stats on Stray and see if people who played it, who usually just play the big games, were like, oh, that was pretty fucking cool. I've never played a small AA game, or I haven't played one of those in a long time. I wonder if they were like, oh no, dude, I'm totally all about that. Oh, fuck yeah, Fupy. Elden Ring took a lot of people's time. I'm still playing that game. Playing it last night, playing it today. Okay. What was an overrated game? Slugwig says, literally an overrated game. Trash Story. Have you played it lately? I don't know what he's talking about. You got to be a little more specific, pal. So listen to this story. This kind of leading into the thing that, Stray was overrated. I've never played it. It didn't interest me. Listen to this. Let's change gears, fellas and filettis. Listen to this. A couple days ago, the news broke from Bloomberg that Wizards of the Coast, they have Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. They canceled at least 5 of its video game projects. You probably heard this. There were about 15 people made redundant. They're going to try to get them employment somewhere else within the companies. And then one of the teams that's making a game there, Hidden Paths Games, said their D&D project is still in development. This was broken by Jason Schreier, little Jason Schreier, the story. He says Schreier stands by his reporting and added a source and a Wizards of the Coast spokesperson told Bloomberg that Hidden Path game is canceled. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's not really what I'm talking about. I will tell you, having a game canceled is going back to that initial story we looked at at the top of the show about the leaked game and hoping that the powers that be at Sony say, okay, we're in, we'll keep funding you to make this vision of yours, right? A canceled game, when you're really into it, will break your fucking heart. I mean, if you're on the team, sure, everyone's going to be bummed, but if you're like the leads, the designer, the lead writer, the lead coder, and this is like your shot, your baby, it'll break you. You get back on the horse, but that's another reason. It's just like, oh God, the last thing I want to do is fall in love with the game and then have your creation at the mercy of just random shit that you have nothing to do with. I will tell you, the game let me just say something real quick. I can't get into details, but the game we were working on, the last game at Bartlett Jones, a publisher came to us and said, we have this initiative going within the company, and we want you and the team to really spearhead this initiative with a game that we want you to make. And here's kind of not the idea of the game, but here's the genre. Can you do that for us? And we're like, sure. We had just come off Drawn to Death, which was a dismal failure. We're like, fuck, you want to pay us? Fuck, to keep working? Fuck, awesome. So we worked for a while. They're happy. We're happy. We lease more space. We're going to grow, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly, nothing to do with us. That initiative that the budget had been put into, the powers that be at Sony, be it in Japan or Foster City, said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Not the game, but we're not doing that initiative, right? Had nothing to do with our work ethic, our creativity, our execution. Had everything to do with like, oh yeah, that money's gone. And it's just, it's a miserable, it's just a miserable game of hoping that you get tapped on the head and not left behind. It's horrible, horrible. But the point is, I bring it all up because of this statement right here. And this is the bee in my bonnet lately. This is what is fascinating me lately. And I don't mean to go on about it, but I got to talk to you guys about this. This is probably the last time I'll talk about it for at least a month, because I don't want to be a broken record. But there is some new news here. So listen to this. A Wizard spokesperson talked to Bloomberg, said the company is still committed to using digital games, but made some changes to our long-term portfolio, blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck knows what they're talking about? But the idea of being committed to sticking with digital games, I bring it up because there was this thing called 1D&D. And I've only played D&D proper once in my life. I played it with members of Gabbin' Games. I had a great time. I want to play it some more. But what they were saying is they're like, it's ridiculous that we haven't gone digital yet with the proper Dungeons and Dragons experience, right? So let's get it all digital. Let's get it visual. Let's get graphics. Dungeon masters can, buy shit online. People have tried this before, but D&D was going to do it right through the, right from the kingdom itself, right? Hang on one sec, fellas. Okay, sorry about that, fellas. So, Dungeons & Dragons, they were like, let's make this into a proper digital experience so people can play with other people all over the world, and they can, we can monetize the fuck out of a lot of microtransactions. But that's where they were going. And it's still, a cab says, is D&D digital possible? Oh, it's very possible. But these guys are talking about sort of making an official version of a lot of the kind of cheap things that are already out there. And this is not about D&D. So if you're not playing D&D, I'm not kind of, I'm not trying to sell you on that. I'm not trying to get you excited about D&D, although it is very fucking cool. But this initiative is almost running out of time to be relevant, because all of the stuff that is happening already in AI and all of the stuff that is happening, that is coming down the line, I just want to show you three things. Everybody knows about the AI artwork, whatever, and everyone knows about chat GPT. But finally, and I think it was Mr. K suggesting this, but finally a couple of things happened. I went to chat GPT that you can see on my screen, and I literally said, pretend you're a dungeon master leading me through a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. and it does it. And I could change this. I could say, make it cyberpunk. I could say I want to be a superhero. I want it to be I couldn't do an M-rated or X-rated game because they don't do that with this particular product. But, you know, it is, you know, here, you're here. Do I have weapons? Yes, you have this. Look at the knife. Shout into the darkness. Is anyone there? It told me no voice return, but it got, oh yeah, it says you take a deep breath and let out a shout asking if anyone's there. The sound echoes through the tunnels. There's no response. You listen carefully. All you hear is the sound of dripping water. I'm like, what items do I have with me? I had a torch. So I said, oh, light the torch. And then I said, take the torch and throw the torch down the pathway to the left. And it does exactly what I thought it was going to do. It says you watch as the torch tumbles through the air, the flame illuminating the way. As the torch comes to a stop, you see the path slopes downward, right? I mean, it just fucking works. I say, pull out my handheld computer, ask what path to take. It knows enough to say, yeah, you don't have a handheld computer, right? I mean, you are able to talk to this thing like you can talk to a dungeon master, and it's only going to get better. Okay, now that's part one. You've seen that before, but I wasn't aware that you could really jump into fucking interactive fiction with this fucking thing. Okay, now Microsoft came out today, and they announced this. They announced Microsoft Val-E. This is amazing, and I know people are going to be upset about this in terms of voice actors, but this is the way we're going. It can imitate any voice. I'm going to give you some samples of this in a second. It can imitate any voice with just a 3-second sound sample. Okay. Microsoft recently released an artificial intelligence tool known as Val-E that can replicate people's voices. The tool was trained on 60,000 hours of English. This is from Windows Central, by the way. English speech data, and uses 3-second clips of voices to generate content. Unlike many AI tools, Val-E can replicate the emotions and tone of a speaker, even when creating a recording of words the speaker has never said. The voice samples shared by Microsoft range in quality. Some of them sound natural, others are clearly machine generated. Of course, AI gets better over time, so the future will be more convincing. Additionally, Val-E only uses 3-second prompts. If the technology used larger samples, it could undoubtedly get more realistic. Then it says, not a security concern. Some have brought up the fact that voice actors may lose work to Val-E and competing tech. While it's unfortunate to see people lose work, I don't see a way around this. This is the reporter. If Val-E reaches a point where it can replace voice actors for audiobooks or other content, companies are going to use it. That's just the reality of tech advancing. So I want to play some samples of this. I want to play some samples of this. Brett Moore says, when that all CG Final Fantasy, Aki Ross, baby, came out, people thought that was the end of actors. It wasn't. This is different, though. This is different. This is not. Let me just play it for you. Let me just fucking play it for you. This is like, look, for example, we're making an indie game right now. If we make this game, I would be hard pressed to not use tech like this if it was available at the time. So this is the prompt. I'm going to play you some of these. This is the prompt, the 3-second prompt that the AI used. Here we go.
And found himself soon upon firm rock.
That's it. That's all they used.
He descended the ladder and found himself soon upon firm rock.
One more time. This is not AI. This is a human speaker.
He descended the ladder and found himself soon upon firm rock.
Okay, now this is what Val-E does with that 3-second sample, reading totally new, never said by the actor audio.
Cautiously about the hut, groping before and about them to find something to show that Warrington had fulfilled his mission.
Come on, man. Listen to that. You wouldn't know.
They moved thereafter cautiously about the hut, groping before and about them to find something to show that Warrington had fulfilled his mission.
Okay, here's another one. This is a woman's voice. Listen to this.
As he lighted a pipe with a... He told his visitors, as he lighted a pipe...
That's it. That's 3 seconds.
He told his visitors, as he lighted a pipe with...
Okay, now here's the AI.
The old man wore boots with turnover tops, and his blue coat had wide cuffs of gold braid.
You think that sounds like a robot?
Instead of shoes, the old man wore boots with turnover tops, and his blue coat had wide cuffs of gold braid.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to play you another one. Tell me if this is real or this is the AI.
They do not go where the enemies of the gospel predominate.
Okay, was that real 3-second sample or was that the AI? Play it again. Okay, Frank says real, Sergio says real, Painkiller says AI, a cab AI, AI. Okay, so a lot of you guys think that's AI. Is this AI or is this real? Here we go.
And not for his private person. So the minister of Christ, and not for his private person.
What was that? AI. I'm just reading the chat. AI. Nope, that was real. That's a real voice. So fuck you. You're just wrong. You're just wrong. Now, this is the one to me that sounded robotic, right? This is the actual woman's voice.
Windows, the wooden shutters to close over them at windows, the wooden shutters to close over them at
This is the AI version of that.
yea, his honorable worship is within, but he hath a godly minister or two with him, and likewise a leech.
Okay, so that one I could tell because it just didn't sound natural. These other ones, though, yeah, I mean, look, if you're an audiophile, like somebody is like, oh, I'm an audiophile, I can tell, says Twisted Sith. Frank Kent says still sounds bad. Hey, go with God, man. If you guys actually think these sound robotic, I don't know what to tell you. It's their talking doesn't sound natural, says Jeeves. Okay. I don't think
They go where the Christians are. They do not go where the enemies of the gospel predominate. They go where the Christians are.
If I was playing a video game and I had an AI character talk like that, I'd go, oh, okay. I totally buy it. I totally buy it. Okay. Here's the other thing I want to show you though. Now I got this from Rotten Tanuki, one of our great God of War members who also does the amazing God damn it, Jaffe. Day One patch kits, which are awesome. You can find a link to all of his stuff at the bottom in the link tree. I didn't know about this. I knew about AI art. I didn't know about this. This is crazy to me. Now, this is obviously very early. But if you look at your screen, it's from a company, Luma Labs. And it's not just 3D art. It's 3D generated art models based on text. Okay. So if you write Captain Canuck, well, let's do Ant-Man. Somebody just typed in Ant-Man. It's not a picture. It is a 3D fucking model. Right. And this is early. If you remember what the AI generated artwork looked like back in the day, a couple of, 7 months ago, and how it looks now. This is a similar thing that we're talking about right now. Imagine, hang on one sec. Yeah. If you look at this and you imagine, and I'm on the wait list for this, right? So I can't actually get in and type anything yet. But this guy wrote apple pie, right? So imagine basically going, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take, we are so close, you guys. You have maybe you have a clue, but it fascinates me. Okay. So when we go back to talking about Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast actually doing all this shit, fuck it. I don't need them to make D&D. I need somebody to basically take Chat GPT, mix it with the ability to create in real time 3D models, right? Based on, you're going, all this stuff that it wrote. You approach the pool of water and kneel down to get a better look. The water is crystal clear and you can see your reflection perfectly. Blah, 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 right? I need that. I need this to actually create the environments. I need this to just write the dialogue. I don't even have to write the dialogue. I can tell Chat GPT to write the fucking dialogue and say, write this character in the style of a drunk version of Stan Lee. It can already do that. It can already do that. I had it write tweets like Stan Lee the other day. This is insane. Now, yes, it looks not great yet. Just like some of the audio you can tell are robots. But this is 2023. We're talking about being able to go a couple years in the future, 20 years in the future, 100 years in the future. And imagine it's the holodeck. It is the goddamn cockadoodie holodeck. I think, hey, Rob, the mods in the chat, I tell you what, all this thing needs to do now is rig it. If these fucking things are like, make me Obi-Wan Kenobi and then rig the goddamn thing, then you just plug it in. Plug it in as a file to your to Unreal. And you're off to the goddamn races. I mean, what are you talking about? What are you fucking talking about? It is wild. It is absolutely wild. In terms of generating content with ripping people off with lame, cheap video games, yeah, I don't agree, Twisted. This idea that it will never compete with real human-made games. I get that he has 4 legs. Well, first off, that's probably his robe, but it doesn't matter. It's getting there. It's getting there. I don't agree with this. Captain Ply says, Jaffe, along the same lines, look and see some of the stuff players have made in Dreams. I have. And the problem I always have with Dreams is that ultimately people end up making either fan versions of games they already have played, or their stuff's just really fucking boring because it's really fucking hard to make a game. AI doing it becomes a lot more interesting. And this idea, though, of like, oh, he has 4 legs or whatever, the same way, and even the stuff that people say, I don't like it that Dolly or Midjourney takes real art assets or whatever. If that really becomes a problem, like a legal problem, it's an easy solve. It's just like you can go and buy stock footage on the internet, or you can buy clip art. It's like, okay, so the companies that run Midjourney go, fine, no problem. We'll employ a bunch of artists for 5-10 years. We'll own all of this content, and we'll do Boris Viejo, and we'll do Jim Lee versions of things. You can't copyright those. And then we'll use that as our jumping off point for the AI. Same thing with the 3D, but this is, and the other part is the idea that you can't, the AI can't make games as good as people, like we were just saying. Play some of the stuff in Dreams. It's terrible. It's impressive that somebody made it. It's impressive that someone created the assets and all that stuff, but as a game, it's not good. It's just derivative. But then, I mean, I literally, listen to this. I'm going to get off this topic real quick. Oh, you're not even seeing what I'm showing you. I'm sorry. I was showing you Betty White. This is the Betty White statue. Come on now. I'm sure you've done a few things in Dreams that aren't boring, but most things in Dreams I have found very boring. And I've reloaded it over and over. The last time I did it, I think, was they had this like online conference where people who built assets in Dreams, you could kind of like walk around a couple of environments, and inside it was like a convention of, hey, I make weapons that you can get. I make this that you can get for Dreams and put in your game and all that. It's never caught my attention. The tools are impressive, but not much else. But anyway, the last thing I want to say is going back to this idea of the games will never be able to be as good. Let me just tell you, this is what happened, right? So I'm not going to read you the details, but the high concept was I took the right path. This was the D&D game I was playing with Chat AI. It says you go into a chamber, there's a pool of water, okay? I say, look at my reflection in the water. It says you approach a pool of water and kneel down to get a better look. The water is crystal clear and you can see your reflection perfectly. You see a determined adventurer with a strong jawline and piercing eyes. You are dressed in a set of well-worn leather armor and are carrying a small knife. You have a backpack over your shoulder. You're ready for what challenges come your way. I say, cast a spell to make my face look very old. I'm sorry, but you don't have the ability to cast spells. You're an adventurer equipped with this, that, I mean, dive into the water. Then it writes the story of what's in the water. The idea that a human is going to be able to go in and fill in every gap of what the player wants to do, which is really the best way to make something feel immersive. I'm sorry, it's not possible. And I got to say, I get a little frustrated when my fellow gamers push back on this stuff. I'm not saying it's there yet, but this idea that humans, can always do it better, it's not true. But CR3D, it doesn't matter what it is. CR3D says this is just photogrammetry. The AI is finding images of Betty White and making a 3D shape, but it's still unusable. That's not accurate. How it creates it is probably quite accurate. But the idea that in a year, in a month, how fast this is going, that I can't say, make me Batman, and then rig it automatically. Oh, it's a biped, automatically have the AI rig the skeleton so I can automatically import it into Unity or Unreal, and it just works. Come on. How hard is that? How far away do you really think that is? I wonder how many different prompts it can make if different people wrote the same thing, says Brett. It's unlimited. It's the number of letters in the alphabet times the number of words. I mean, I don't know. Technology doesn't eliminate artists from the industry. It enhances and hastens their job. I think you mean it speeds it up, Danielle. I agree. That's why I don't even know. I mean, people will be able to create brilliance. Imagine the fucking time. I'm going to tell you one more thing. This is the last time I'm going to talk about it for a while, so I just bear with me and indulge me for a brief moment. Let me get this chat. Carlos, thank you, buddy, for being a member for 16 fucking months. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, hey, Jaffe, Happy New Year. You too. You should play a game called Kingdom 2 Crowns. It's on PS Extras. What is it like? I think I've maybe kind of heard at it. I don't know what that is. It sounds familiar though. Oh my God, Jaffe, you can't rig that. Yes. Oh my God. You know what? CR3D, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not saying you can rig this. Come on, man. Have a little vision. Have a little vision. I'm not saying you can go in today and rig this, but I'm saying that you can absolutely easily imagine 1 or 2 years from now that you can use text to write, I want a 3D model like this, and here's how I want it to move, and it automatically rigs it. Come on, man. You can already do it if there's a program already out there. The fuck is that thing? We used a little bit of it on the prototype for Drawn to Death. It's like a web tool that you import your model and it semi-automatically rigs the fucking thing. Gravity, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. He says, an AI can make you the chosen one in a hyper-realistic sim of your choice. Which universe do you choose? I mean, if I could really get lost in a simulation and not, really try to feel that I'm there. My initial one would probably be like a really, maybe like a real sexy R-rated version of Star Wars. I think that would be a lot of fun. But somebody talking about, that it may very well get rid of certain jobs. Like CR3D is an artist. He's a good artist. It may go, all those skills and talents that you've learned, they're not relevant. But the creativity of an artist or of a designer or a writer or a director, that is still incredibly necessary. So you can tell the fucking thing what to do, and you can come up with the parameters, and you can come up with the scenarios that it will then use to create new things. It just may be that just like few people use oil painting today, it doesn't mean that it's not, you can't paint with oils. It just means that there's faster ways to express yourself visually. Last thing I'll say, Tones says, and I agree, the doubters must be the new generation. I don't know about that didn't grow up with Pong and realize what we have at our fingertips today. The last thing I will show you on this, and we will then move on, what we're going to move on to next is We're going to talk about the most anticipated games of this year. There's a study that just came out. Kind of cool. Look at this. I literally go to Chat GP now. This thing is getting hammered these days, but I have it saved if not. So check this out. Write me code in Apple Basic for a game that plays Space Invaders. Right? You're talking about Pong. Watch this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let me do a new chat. Okay, here we go. Write me code in Apple Basic for a video game that plays Space Invaders. I'm not sure why that's not working. Not a problem. I'll show you. I did it earlier though. Here it is. Oh, I got to refresh. That's what's happening. Check this out. Yeah, he says, certainly. Here is code. So this is the code for Space Invaders in Apple Basic, right? And this is it. He did one in JavaScript as well, right? And then I tried to run it, and there was a bug, and I said, I'm getting an unexpected end of input error with this code. Can you fix it? Says, I apologize for the error. It looks like the code I provided was incomplete. Here's the complete version of the Space Invaders game in JavaScript. So to your point, the idea that, you know, the younger generation that didn't see how far we've come because of Pong, I don't know if it's younger or older. What I'm saying is, come on, man. We're getting there. Gamers should be celebrating this shit. Yeah, that's a good idea, Eddie T. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's try that. Show me code for God of War Ragnarok, but with better pacing. I have no idea what it's going to do. I'm unable to write code for a game called God of War Ragnarok. Yeah. As it goes beyond my capabilities. So, you know, we're early. We're early. Rob, your job Rob is actually making games and he's an artist. He says, looks like my job just got easier. That is the attitude that people should have. Right. Your job just got easier. You're not being replaced. If you're creative, if you have vision, if you have a game you want to make, an experience you want to express, you don't have to worry about pleasing the Xbox managers of the world, the Sony managers of the world. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, yeah, you gotta, if you're going to play in that league of AAA, sure. Anyway, there you go. Let's move on. Bill Bone says, Jaffe, I know you don't like physical games. Do you like video game statues? I love all of that shit. I just, you know, I don't need to own it. I don't need to own it, right? So like, I know that like there's a museum in Hollywood that's about to open and they're trying to get funding to do like a sideshow collectibles display, like an exhibit. And I know if you ever go to Comic-Con, that's the most packed part of the show because they're amazing. So I love it, but I don't want to spend that kind of money on something that's just going to be behind me and gather dust. Right. That's the thing. Too bad Jaffe's on the wrong side of history for this one. Why? What basically what you're saying is, Twisted Sith, you don't want the holodeck. That's what you're basically saying. Because ultimately, this is becoming that. And you're going, I mean, think about what you're saying. You're like, if you ever watch Star Trek and they go on the holodeck and it's like Picard going, I want a 1940s noir adventure that, you know, feels like Sherlock Holmes, but in the 1940s. And the AI just goes and runs and gives him something that's specially for him, but done well. You're like, yeah, that's not what people want. They want to go into Ken Levine's, although Ken Levine's behind this shit too. Let's say they want to go into, I don't fucking know, Corey's 1940s simulation. And when they try to do something, it's like, no, that's not Corey's story. Corey didn't write that. He doesn't want that to happen. You have to have these parameters. Why would you want that? If you can have the holodeck, why would you want that? It just doesn't make any sense. How in the world am I on the wrong side of history? Gravity says, I disagree. You're being replaced, or at least won't be able to make money. A certain skill set is being replaced. What's not being replaced and won't be replaced is these are just new sets of tools to express themselves with, artists with. And those people will find the tools that work for them to reach the market in a way that they are the best of the best, and they will continue to be able to be employed and work and name their price. But that's just, that's like saying that the guy who's great at, driving the buggy and horse carriage, oh no, let's not have cars because he's going to lose his job. Well, if he's a good driver, he likes to drive, he likes to take people around, there'll be another job he can get that uses a similar but different set of skills. Come on now. How will this stop kids from using ChatGPT from term papers? Well, again, to be fair, there's already a stop for that, which is ChatGPT puts out an invisible watermark, and you can buy a service, I think, or a program that schools can buy and go, oh, this was written by that. But now there's also another program that will go in and adjust the words so it's still ChatGPT's writing, but it's done enough that it can trick the program that, it's on and on and on and on, right? Right. CR3D says, anybody read iRobot? They built an AI system that figures out space travel in 10 years, as opposed to humanity taking 100 plus years. Yeah. Why would we not want this? This is brilliant. All right, let's move on. There's a study that says these are the 10 most anticipated games of 2023. Twisted Sith, it says, I'll always be Team Humanity. This is humanity. That's like saying you're not Team Humanity, you're Team Humanity, so don't wear glasses, don't drive in a car. You're literally communicating across the world with many people in real time or near real time on a fucking computer. Where do you draw the line? It's all humanity. Is that my dog? How did you get in here? How are you even in here? Hello, Ace. Okay. 10 most anticipated games of 2023. Eddie T says, I live like a caveman. I only have a loincloth. Right. Oh, I have someone in the call and waiting room. I wasn't even checking that. All right, let me bring in the bookster. One moment. And then we're going to talk about the most anticipated titles. All right, bookster, what's up, man?
Not too much.
What's up? What do you want to talk about?
So I just wanted to pose a question for you, and I know you wanted to get off the AI, but it's related to that. So there's certain AIs that are able, like, you can basically, and I'm sure you already know this, you can type in and be like, hey, write a Kotaku article about
why. Right. I have it on the screen right now. It's ChatGPT.
Yep. There was another one that was that did that, but I can't remember what it's called. But I think, how would you feel if people started using AI to write in-game journalism? Would you be opposed to that? Would you think that's fine, or?
I wouldn't care. What do I care? Is it good? Will it end up being good journalism?
It depends on that. I mean, that's more for. Is that a question for me?
Well, I'm saying that if the content is good and truthful and I can depend on it, I don't care how I get it. I don't need to know how the plane flies, and planes fly a lot more by themselves these days than they used to. I just want to get where I'm going safe. So yeah, if I can enter it in and say, let's see, write a one paragraph, paragraph opening in the style. The danger is going to be when people don't know what's real and what's not, but we're already there with that. So New York Times about the day we discover life on Mars. Let's see what it says. In a historic moment that will go down in the annals of science and human achievement, scientists have announced the discovery of microbial life on the planet Mars. After years of exploration and research, the team led by Dr. Jane Smith of the Mars Exploration Program confirmed the existence of living organisms in soil samples collected from the planet's Gale crater. This groundbreaking discovery opens the door to endless possibilities and raises new questions about the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. That is great. That's a great opening paragraph.
Yep.
Come on now. Now let's do the same thing, but let's do it in the style of the Weekly World News. Hang on. All right.
Like, I was reading an opinion article and it was written by a bot. That's not really. I mean, it's an opinion article, but it's an opinion article of an AI. Is it really an opinion? Like, that's more like false advertising to me at that point, because you're not getting a legitimate opinion from anyone.
Well, I think as long as you make it clear where it's coming from, that's all that matters.
I mean, if it was like edited by this person, like you can, like I would be more in tune with like that. Like, say it's an opinion article, it's done by ChatGPT, but it's edited so that way it kind of words it for them. But it's their opinion.
Go get what you want. I mean, there is no right answer. Just, if that's what you prefer. I mean, the danger in all of this is going to be the sense of truth is going to get harder to discern. But we're going to have to deal with that problem anyway. How? I don't know. It's going to be chaos for a long time until we evolve enough to handle this insane technology. But all right, Bookster, thank you for the call. I appreciate it, buddy. Call back anytime. All right, there he goes off into the evening. Okay. Can AI opinion be free of bias? I don't know. Okay. Can anything? All right, let's move forward though. Let's get off this. Let's talk about the most anticipated games. Stoner Joe says, Jaffe, thanks for the super chat, buddy. He says, you're fighting an uphill battle. Gamers have been battling against AI their entire lives. Perhaps. But look, I don't understand why gamers just don't embrace this shit. It's going to be better for everyone. It's going to give them better games, better experiences, better escape. But there it is. But thank you, Senator Joe. I appreciate it, man. Okay. Here we go. Study claims to reveal the 10 most anticipated games of this year. Let me tell you what they are first. Okay. Number 10, and this is surprising. This is based on social media searches. Okay. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is tied with Ark 2 for number 10, which is crazy. Number 9, the remake of Resident Evil 4. That's amazing that that's ahead of Legend of Zelda. Number 8, Blue Protocol. I don't even know what the fuck Blue Protocol is. 7, The Day Before, which has been on the Steam top 5 on and off in terms of 1 through 5 throughout last year. Not entirely sure why. Forspoken is number 6. This is just based on what people are searching. So maybe it's because the demo came out. I'm not sure. Number 5, Baldur's Gate 3. Number 4, Sons of the Forest. Number 3, Diablo 4. Number 2, Starfield. Number 1, Hogwarts. Yeah, you can see the list. Sure. It's right here. Let me go to this actual study. I'll show you. I know the screen. I'm not doing camera today. A new study claimed to reveal the 10 most anticipated video games of 2023. The new games coming in the first half alone would be enough to make next year one to remember. Let's see, here we go. Titles were ranked by global search volume to determine which new 2023 games people are looking forward to the most. So, yeah, if you don't equate search with anticipation, sure, absolutely true. But I think there's validity there. Well, yeah, so Spider-Man's not on here, which that is surprising, but, take that for what it is. The one that really surprised me, and the reason I'm thinking about this anyway, is the Sony blog. Starfield's on there. It's number 2. The PlayStation Twitter account tweeted this out about, look at all these big games coming out for PlayStation and a lot of other systems too, in 2023. And I saw the Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I actually got to thinking, it's interesting to me that most video games have a okay, how do I explain this? It's not as hard to explain, but so back in the day, when people made sequels to movies, this doesn't happen anymore. But the movies, there was a formula where you could say sequels probably do 70 to 80% business of the previous film, right? So there's a decline in revenue, right? And video games were always different. The sequels to video games would always do more and more and more and more. And I think now both do more than the previous movies and games. But what's weird is video games have such a low completion rate that when you look at something like Star Wars, which I'm assuming EA plans to sell a lot of copies of, more than the first, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, at least according to trophy data on the PlayStation, has a 60% completion rate, which is pretty fucking high. And I wonder about that though, because if Star Wars comes out and it sells more than Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, whatever the fuck it was called, what does that mean? Does it mean that, because you would think, oh, if 60% of the people finished it, maybe 55%, it'll do 55% of business of the first game. Maybe a little bit more, but whatever. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think sequels do better, but so I guess it's going to be people who didn't even finish it are going to be buying the sequel. Like, why would you buy a sequel to a game where you didn't even finish the first one? I guess that's what I'm wondering. It's weird. It's weird. There are more consoles to sell it on. I mean, that's true, Lando. But again, Fallen Order came out on PS4 and PC, and so it actually wasn't. There were more consoles that ran Fallen Order back then than now. I think. I don't know if it's probably cross-gen though. People play games for the gameplay, not the story, says Ryan. No, I agree with that, Ryan, of course. But I'm just saying that if you played this game and 40% of the people washed out of playing it, then whether it was the gameplay or the story, they have the experience going, I played it, but I kind of got bored of it before it was over. Why are they going to jump on to the sequel? And I'm not saying I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand the psychology behind it, but I do it too. Brett Moore says hype and fear of missing out. People will buy a sequel to one they didn't finish. Fair. Okay, yeah, this game is not cross-gen, says Lando. So yeah, you're going to have less people, or it's going to be available to fewer people, at least when it first comes out. Anyway, I just bringing that up. I was curious about it, especially as it relates to this anticipated list, which no, Star Wars is not on this anticipated list, but I mean, it's a list based on searches. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm wondering about if you were to do, I'm wondering if there's another place to find most anticipated. I can't ask Chat GPT. Listen to this. Chat GPT is partially owned by Microsoft, and they announced 2 days ago that Microsoft is going to be integrating ChatGPT into Bing, their search engine. And so the problem with ChatGPT right now is it doesn't go out to the internet. It only goes up to like 2020 or so. And it won't, you can't ask it like what the score of this game was last night. Because it doesn't have its tentacles out into the net that way. But it will. And then you could ask it what the most anticipated games are. But let's see. Shack News. Yeah, these are just people's individuals. I want to see like these are just individual staffs. I don't care about the staffs. Like, this is what Polygon wants. This is what these guys want. Whatever. Fuck that. I don't care about that. Okay. Un momento. Okay. there's a lot more to get to, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow's show or the next day's show. Yeah, I'm going to save that. Fellas, somebody, okay, let me just go to the chat. We'll do a little free chat for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up, and I'll be back. If not tomorrow, I'll be back on Wednesday with a I Love the Weird episode, or if there's a lot of news breaking in games, a new Gabbin' in Games. But yeah, somebody was asking me about, is it Andrew Tate? I don't know really anything about that, man. I don't know much about that. I know that he seems like one of those really toxic alpha pricks that a bunch of men who don't have strong male influences in their life seem to really vibe with. And now I guess he's gone to jail. And then there's a rumor that him or his brother both went to jail, got the shit beaten out of them, and now they're in, one of them's in a hospital. I don't fucking know. I find all these sort of people who want to, parade around as alpha males to be fucking idiots. Just fucking morons. So that's my take on Andrew Tate. I don't know if that's what you wanted me to talk about, but people were saying talk about him. What else are you going to do? He seems like an obnoxious prick. Rumors are wrong. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't give a fuck about this guy. I hear that he was having sex with underage girls and ran a sex ring. That's a problem. Eddie T says he has his own university where it costs $5,000 to learn how to be an alpha male. Oh my God. Here's a little tip for you kids if you're listening and you believe this fucking idiot. The very nature of somebody telling you how to be an alpha male and you then choosing to learn from this person how to be an alpha male is everything that is not alpha male. It's like, I'm such a follower that I don't know how to make my own path in life. So will you please give me a list that I can follow? What? I thought you were alpha. I thought you were supposed to have it all together. No, I need somebody to tell me what to do. You're not alpha. You're a fucking bitch. Alphas versus yeah, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit anyway. Yeah, be your own man, Prince. That's what I say, baby. Is Santa Monica hiring you back? I doubt it. No, I mean, I wouldn't. That really would not interest me. And I don't think they would want me to come back for that. One thing Tate has done is make guys more aware of the toxic dating culture. I don't really know what that means. If you don't know, fuck you, Emmanuel. He says, if you don't know and don't care, stop talking about it. I can literally point you to about 20 comments in the chat where they're like, talk about Andrew Tate. So I'm talking about him. So I'm a short order cook of conversation. You want to talk about Andrew Tate? I'll tell you what I think. I didn't go out of my way. Wayne says the problem is there's no alternative for young men. People just say they are toxic, so it's easy to see why young men flock to them. There's plenty of alternatives. There's plenty of alternatives. There are good people out there. There are good men out there. You want a man to serve as a role model? Even if you don't politically agree with him, I think Barack Obama is a man that you can look at and go, that's a cool dude who's got his shit together. That's somebody. I think you could look at The Rock and go, that's a guy who, yeah, he's into the working out and the tequila and all the sort of traditional masculine things. But he also seems to be a good person and a hard worker. And he doesn't, rape people. Jaffe is the inventor of God of War. I don't need another shot. I don't want, oh my God, you make your own shots, baby. You make your own fucking shots. I don't want a shot. I told people this the other day. Terry Crews is great too. I went out to lunch with a bunch of people, two people from old school Sony, and it was a great lunch, and we were just talking about how the current Sony is not the old is not the old Sony. And I don't think any of us want to be at the current Sony. And that's not a knock against the current Sony. That's just it's very different from what we did back in the day. Cornel West is greater than Barack Obama, says Matt. Great. I didn't say Barack Obama is the best man in the world. I said that he could be a role model. I don't agree with you on Jordan Peterson, but it's, to each their own. Alex S. says, Jaffe, give us a normal Gabbin' and Games, please. I don't understand. We literally just had an hour and a half of doing nothing but talking about video games. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not joking with you. I'm asking. What do you mean? Jaffe, do you want to see Megan? Oh, I totally want to see Megan. The problem is, man, I don't want to go to theaters anymore. Like, I just don't like going to theaters anymore. And I get it because the theaters want to stay in business, of course, and all that shit. So it's like all these trailers, like only in theaters. Oh God, hurry up and get to streaming. I want to see Megan a lot. And then there's also another movie I want to see, trailer for a horror film a lot. But I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I almost got into a fist fight at Terrifier 2 for telling a guy to put his phone away. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Ravnos, I'm with you. Theaters suck. I mean, they can, but I just don't like getting out of the house. I literally did this the other day. I went into VR, and I went into Big Picture, I think is what it's called, or Big Screen or whatever, where you can watch movies on a giant screen in the theater and you can invite people. And I'm like, I haven't tried this since the update. I want to try it. And I did it with No Time to Die, the James Bond movie. And it was really cool. And I was like, we should do a pot and popcorn night in VR. The problem is most people don't have VR. And so it becomes kind of like there's only 2 people there. But it's really cool. Yes, there will be a weird show. I Love the Weird will be this week. It might be Wednesday. I'm not entirely sure yet. Jeeves says it's something about movie theater popcorn. You can't replicate it at home. You can't, but I've gotten close with this thing called Flavacol, which you pour on the popcorn at theaters. You can get that through Amazon. I have no interest in seeing Avatar 2. It's number 7 best money-making movie of all time, but I don't give a fuck. Oh yeah, the Nicolas Cage vampire movie looks awesome. That's exactly right, Prince Green. I'm with you. But yeah, no, I don't give a fuck about Avatar. I don't even know why people are going to see that fucking thing. Advanced tech or advanced spirituality? I would say advanced spirituality, superpower man, but that's because advanced technology is simply another tool to get us to advanced spirituality. So if we can do that without needing the tech, we'll get there sooner. But I think it's all about getting to that, basically. Coco said Megan was really good. Oh, good. Pretty good. Good. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm smoking good shit or not, money getting. I'm smoking. Not right now, anyway. Oh, yeah. My kids buy me popcorn. I send them over to the theater, JW, and they bring popcorn back and we watch it at home. Okay, fellas, that's been Gabbin' and Games for the 9th of January, 2022. People wondering where my beautiful face is. Like I said, I'm doing some hardcore game design right now, working with the folks in Poland on it. And in that, I don't want to put any time this week into thumbnails. I don't want to put any time into the background, the lighting, all the stuff that I usually do. And so I just want to be able to still stream though. And so this week, maybe a little next week, it'll just be very bare bones like this, but we'll be here, man. I'll be here for you. And I appreciate you being here for me and for the show. And we'll be back to normal, proper streams next week, but I will be streaming a bunch more this week. And in the meantime, be well, be safe. And thank you guys very, very much for hanging out. And I hope to see you real soon. Bye, everybody. The next pot and popcorn. I don't know. How do you feel about Saturday? We do it Saturday.